Welcome to Maritime with Ezinne. My name is Ezinne Azuna. We'll be bringing you a new entrant in the maritime industry.
We are getting people to realize that maritime does not start and end with the seas.
We'll be looking at the very important transport document.
85% of the Earth's surface is water.
ABC of shipping is the first port of call because that gives you the whole knowledge of what to see.
Nothing done by man is perfect. You can't give 100% where goods are cleared out of customs control.
The key job of customs anywhere in the world is trade facilitation, not revenue drive.
Welcome to the Executive Dialogue. My name is Ezinne Azuna, your host. And today on the show, we have an executive in the house, one of the renowned marine consultants in Nigeria, in the person of Captain Suleiman Baiyee. It's nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for granting us this interview.
My pleasure.
Since 1973, yes. That's 48 years now. And
giving away my age now.
The maritime industry, you're passionate about it, you do a lot of things. Now you've delved into shipbuilding, even consulting for banks. Funding is another very touchy issue for the industry. If you have stayed here this long, have we progressed like you would wish?
The maritime industry is the foundation of any nation that has a coastline. And in Nigeria here, it's the foundation of our economy. 90% of what we consume comes by sea. More than 90% of what we produce is actually within the maritime industry. So it's really the nucleus of the economy of this country. So let's go back to myself. I was trained by Shell. I stayed with Shell for about 4 years, and then I left, and I went to join a company called Gloptic Ship Management in the UK, and they gave me the opportunity to go into shipbuilding. I worked with them for a while and decided to leave the sea in 1982 after I became a captain. Decided to go back to university, got a master's degree in operational research, which is using scientific methods to manage companies. So I was a consultant in that field up to 16, 17 years of that. Then I came back into the maritime industry. The way I approach marine is very different, but really it's because I've learned how to be efficient from the other side on project management. And I did quite a few things until I started working with African Circle, where I built vessels for them actually. The 4 vessels that they have, Mezube, those who were there, I built them and designed them specifically for them to be able to collect waste to meet MARPOL requirements. After I delivered the vessels, they did not have the facility to process the waste that came off the vessels. So I brought a solution for the challenges and told them that I could build a facility. And that's how I built the facility on Snake Island for African Circle, and that's how we met. In Nigeria, a lot of the people who build vessels, they employ foreign consultants. They do not have our interests. They do not know our challenges here. So my involvement meant that I started changing vessels to meet our requirements.
That's an area that had laid fallow for quite a long time. What's the challenge of the shipbuilding industry?
Shipbuilding is not just putting the ship together. You come in, you do the concept, you do the design. There's a lot of procurement. There is a lot of discipline involved. The final thing is putting it together, and everybody seems to think that's what it is. No, it's much broader than that. If you take NIMASA, the shipbuilding fund, 200 million from NCDMB, and we spend all this money abroad and nobody decides to put a caveat to say, listen, part of this we have to have a target that we're spending 500 million on shipbuilding over the next 3 years.
Well, that was what cabotage was supposed to do.
Yeah, but you see, people look at cabotage, you talk about it. What is the cabotage law? It's so broad that If I was to do cabotage, I would phase it in. I would make it such that I start with things, the vessels that Nigerians can own and build. So you start with vessels up to maybe 300 GRT. Then you say 3 years later, it goes up. You don't come and put one law that goes across where it is very difficult then to deal with. We have to learn to grow. Today, even if I wanted to build the full boat here, we don't have the infrastructure to do it. There is so much that needs to be built up. But what I want to say is that, listen, I don't want to go and borrow money from the bank to build it. But I want NCDMB to say, if there are 10 vessels that they're going to fund, then say those vessels have to be built based on the Nigerian Shipbuilding Development Plan. So the vessels themselves that you're building, because the orders are there, the bank will be ready to finance. If I wanted to set up a shipyard now, they'll be looking at me. They will say no. But if I came to them and said, look, I've got 5 vessels I need to build, give me the money. I'm being backed by NCDMB. Here's the money. Out of those 5 vessels, guess what? I can set up a shipyard to start the process. But so until NCDMB, NIMASA, and the rest say part of the strategy of whatever they're doing support shipbuilding, and it is tied into it, everybody will take the money and go and build it abroad because it's easier.
So you think we don't have enough support from government?
No. Look, the government is putting the money there, but somewhere along the line, it is not being integrated. There's no synergy for all the disciplines. So shipbuilding should be tied into that money. Mm-hmm. It's not only shipbuilding, capacity development. If we had synergy, the benefits will be enormous.
How important is it that we begin to train artisans? You know, we hear a lot on seafarers, but very few people talk about the culture, what the maritime artisan brings to the table.
Take Oron as an example. They do ship management, they do port management, they do all of that. Now, if you get the portfolio set up in Oron and it is right, those people now will feed into it. But the people who build those vessels are the artisans, the electricians, the people who learn the shipbuilding process. They have to be trained. Everybody is training without really focusing on the skill, the need that we have.
The need we have. Okay, I'll come back to you on that because it's important we look at this artisanal side very well. But in the meantime, we'll go on a short break and then we'll come back. So thank you for staying tuned. There's still Captain Baiyee and we'll be right back after this short break. Welcome to Maritime with Ezinne. My name is Ezinne Azunna. We'll be bringing you a new entrant in the maritime industry.
We are getting people to realize that maritime does not start and end with the seas.
We'll be looking at the very important transport document.
85% of the Earth's surface is water.
ABC of shipping is the first port of call because that gives you the whole knowledge of what to see.
Nothing done by man is perfect. You can't give 100% where goods are cleared out of customs control.
The key job of customs anywhere in the world is trade facilitation, not revenue drive.
In the house today is still Captain Suleiman Baiyee. Just about the time went off, we were talking about artisans and the importance for us to have trainings tailored towards them. So I'm tempted to ask, since you came back and started building vessels, where do you get your artisans from?
The first stage is that we do something like a train the trainer program. They finish from there, you take them from here to South Africa or wherever the shipyard is. You say, let them work on the modules you're coming to put here. And now they train others. So it becomes a cycle. That's why I said it will take you maybe up to 5 years before you start doing things properly. Do you know that about 6 or 7 years ago, the amnesty program, do you know that they trained a lot of artisans in South Africa? I know of that, in shipyards. But they came back here. There was nobody tied that into.
So there's a disconnect between our policies and the actual market.
Okay, the market. So this is why when I talk about synergy, lack of synergy is the disconnect.
Yes.
Shipbuilding development plan runs concurrently with the artisan development plan. If I know today that if we get a plan and you give me 4 or 5 ships to build, within the cost of that vessel, I would train all those people because I have to build it anyway. And so by the time I finish 5 vessels, guess what? I've started putting 20-30% of the vessel in Nigeria. It will be cheaper. I've done capacity development. I'm meeting cabotage. I'm meeting the local content whereby you're getting AAA on all your vessels. At the moment, most of the time, it's AA, right?
I once looked up what South Africa does with artisans, and they were able to break it down to about 70 sub-professions, sub-areas where they would, So in terms of the kind of employment that is open, therefore, and the amount of money that would come back into the industry, what are we talking about?
Let me give you an example. To build a vessel, most probably a 35-meter aluminum security boat would take you 8 to 12 months. On the average, you would have between 30 to 50 people working on that boat. I want you to understand, we already have a pool that can be easily converted. A lot of them were trained to a very high level. Today, you say to me, build 5 vessels. All of a sudden, I've got that pool I'll put into, it's fast track straight away. It's there, we've got all the ingredients. It's just that somewhere along the line, there has to be the will.
Funding is critical, and one of the things we get from the industry is that even government funding is not enough. So how do we get funding right, besides what we have from government? How do we get it right?
Okay, let me say this to you, and I said it earlier on. Banks will come. You come with a contract from one of the oil companies, you bring it, you drop it on their table, they tell you the vessel they want to buy, you just give them the money, they go and buy it and bring it. You don't know whether it's fit for purpose, you don't know whether the company has the capacity to execute the contract. But the banks will take it and say, okay, they will get money 330 days, they multiply by the figure, the cash flow is fine. Nigerians have a very poor maintenance culture. Therefore, that reflects on our vessels. So there are so many things that impact on it. The banks today are a little bit more savvy in the maritime sector, but guess what? It's a bit too late because a lot of them have got their fingers burnt, so they're reluctant. But there are 1 or 2 banks who are still investing in the maritime sector. But what they do now is that they use a marine consultant to make sure that they get it right. They not only vet the contract, they vet the vessel, they vet the capacity of the organization to execute. So they're mitigating the risks.
Okay, one of the other areas of interest to us when it comes to shipbuilding is emission, and the impact on climate change. What's the level of compliance in Nigeria, from the expert's perspective, who was also into pollution control? How effective have we been in terms of enforcement of that regulation from IMO?
You signed to a convention, you ratified. If you do not incorporate it into your local law, there's nothing anybody can do about it. There are engines still being installed on vessels coming into Nigeria that are tier 2 emission. What is our government doing about it? Of course, everybody will say it becomes more expensive. But what is the price you're paying for actually doing that? If you wanted to go from a tier 2 engine to a tier 3 engine, most probably you're paying under 10 to 15% on the engine. A tier 3 engine gives you more monitoring capacity. It can actually, in the long run, make it cheaper because you monitor things so you know you'll be able to deal with them before they go wrong. So there are other things technically. So all I would say to you is that if I was talking about the marine industry today, most probably it's doing better than a lot of the other industries in Nigeria, because Nigerian vessels maybe will go to foreign ports. Therefore, they'll be held to account based on a world standard. What a lot of our owners don't realize is that the corners they cut are actually more expensive for their business. Yeah. Invest at the beginning, do the right thing, and everything will go smoothly.
Thank you very, very much for your time, Captain Baiyee. We've been talking to Captain Baiyee, the CEO, General Engineering. He's a marine consultant, and he's shared his wealth of knowledge with us. I do hope you had a great time listening to us and viewing this episode. Until we come your way again next time, I'm Ezinne Azunna. Do stay blessed, and remember, stay safe. Welcome to Maritime with Ezinne. My name is Ezinne Azunna. We'll be bringing you a new entrant in the maritime industry.
We are getting people to realize that maritime does not start and end with the seas.
We'll be looking at the very important transport document.
85% of the Earth's surface is water.
ABC of shipping is the first port of call, because that gives you the whole knowledge of what to see.
Nothing done by man is perfect. You can't give 100% where goods are cleared out of customs control.
The key job of customs anywhere in the world is trade facilitation, not revenue drive.